Hi, everybody. So this is our October 11th version of Kind Soups. And Kind Soup started out of KindWorks. KindWorks, prior to COVID, was doing many great events, including doing mock interviews at the jails and current events with women's shelters and setting up refugees' apartments for them. But of course, none of that was possible once COVID restrictions came into being. And so since I believe it was about November last year, so we've been doing this for almost a year, every week we are doing kind soups, which is that we cook usually 4 to 6 quarts of soup each and then donate them to shelters nearby. Or for this time period, we're actually trying to donate all to Afghan refugees for a good cause. But we also sometimes have it with our families or give it to someone who's had a bad event happen. And it's all in the good nature of just being kind to people and helping out. And so this week, I'm very proud to introduce a good friend, Nadia Hashimi, and her dad, Saeed. Nadia, I've known for years through a group of lady docs, women physicians. Nadia has been a pediatric ER doctor and a number of years ago became a world famous author starting with her first book, which was The Pearl That Broke Its Shell. And that and all her subsequent novels have helped us understand a little bit about what's going on in Afghanistan, especially women's struggles and all the conflict and migrant issues and poverty. And in that first book, she taught us about Bacha Pash, which is the process by which a girl pretends to be a boy so that she could be educated and have some advantages that boys have in that culture at the time. And actually, Nadia, my favorite is the last one, Sparks Like Stars. And all her novels are great. And I'm just so proud to know her. And in addition to writing, Nadia is also very active in currently the Afghan refugee issue, as well as leadership issues and education and medicine and everything, and raising 4 lovely kids at the same time. When someone at Politics and Prose asked her years ago at one of the book signings, how do you get your ideas for all these characters? And she explained that her large extended family went through many of these struggles and ended up in all different places. And so much of what we hear about, I guess, is a compilation of her relative struggles. And Saeed is her dad, who had a deli and had a deli in done in New York, and introduced that community to some of the Afghan cooking by rotating in his Afghan recipes into their menu. So without further ado, now Nadia will tell us a little bit more about her dad, but thank you so much for being here today with us.
Thank you so much, Marcia. This organization is amazing. I absolutely love the way it just brings people together in a very just wholesome way, right? Just down to the basics of getting in the kitchen and really kind of virtually breaking bread together. So really glad to be part of this, and really thankful that KindWorks has decided to put some energies onto the newly arrived Afghans and just share that space with us as well. So we're really happy to do that. And Marcia, I just keep being in awe of all the good things you do. You're just kind every day, right? So we're glad to be here, and I am really excited to be able to introduce my dad, Saeed Hashimi. And I think you'll probably get to know him a little bit better as we go through and as we cook. And he's a talker, so he'll tell you stories. Right? But just to give you a little bit of a background, he is originally from Afghanistan, and family being in Kabul, but he had opportunity to travel around a little bit throughout the country. What I learned this past weekend from a couple of friends of his was that even from the time that he was in school, he had been dreaming of New York. and used to walk around going, New York, New York, just dreaming about where he wanted to go. I didn't know that. And so he did it. He, in 1971, as a young man, he emigrated from the country and came to New York, and then was joined by my mom, who had just finished getting her master's degree in civil engineering, and they started off in New York with pretty humble beginnings, and a lot of it being in the food industry. And so I'll let him talk about, where he started off and what those early days looked like. But after that, ultimately, I think the big endeavor was this deli that I grew up working in from the time that I was 12 too. So we usually spent a lot of time making sandwiches together, soups he was making on his own. But I will let him take it away from there. But I would say that right now he's full-time. He's retired, but he's not really retired, because with 4 grandchildren from me alone and then 2 from my brother, we keep him very, very busy.
Okay, I think Nadia did a good job introducing me, but like she said, I come in 71 in United States, but I was really, when I was in 8th and 9th grade, I wanted to come to United States for some reason, especially New York. But so I end up there, and after the second year being in this country and New York, me and my brother opened our first restaurant in Manhattan and 66th Street, which was a very, very beautiful area and expensive place now. But unfortunately, we didn't know too much about cooking and too much about food in the United States. We lasted maybe a couple of years, and then, and also it was bad time. But anyway, we learned a lot. And then I go to other businesses, and I mean, food business mostly. At the end, I had 28 years in one store, which I retired over there. And we did improve that store, the business a lot. We almost tripled very easily. And yeah, that's it. And then I moved to Maryland.
So he's now a proud Marylander.
Yeah.
And soups were one of his specialties. So he had a real rotation of soups for the fall season.
Yeah, the deli I owned that. It was a good location, but the store was not doing as good because none of the homemade stuff was in that deli. So I started cooking soups and make the own salad and our own roast beef, everything in the store. And people love when they come with the smell of the food, it's amazing, when you cook in the store, people realize that. So I think that's one of the reasons why we were successful in that business. So should we start?
Yes.
Okay. So I chopped the onion, like I said, the garlic, the cilantro, and also the pumpkins and the carrots, and all my spices are here. And I start with half a cup of oil. Should I turn it up?
Let's do it. This is real. He's been watching a lot of Rachel Ray to prepare for this.
Okay.
I think Rachel Ray should be watching him.
No. Oh. But
So,
anyway,
Saeed, while we're waiting for our oil to heat up, can I just ask you what captured your imagination about New York in 8th grade?
I really don't know. I mean, I had option to go any other country. My cousin was in Germany. We had people going to Russia a lot with the scholarship. But my mind was made up. And I don't know, for some reason, we had a couple of Peace Corps teachers. And they talk about New York.
Yeah.
Also, the movies we used to watch in Western movies at that time.
Yeah.
John Wayne and all those.
John Wayne. Fun. So do you still have family all over? Did you have family that stayed in Russia and family that stayed in Germany?
Well, I don't think we have in Russia family, maybe. But I have family in Germany and Australia, almost everywhere.
Huh. So we're putting the onions in the oil.
No,
Yeah.
yeah, okay.
Okay.
Speak of onion, one of my grandkids, one day his wife was cooking, and he saw that his mother is crying. She was, I think, 4 years old or 5 years old. 4 years old, I think. She said, "Why are you crying, Mom?" I said, "Because I'm cooking. I chopped onion." She said, "Can you cook something that not make you cry?" I don't know how many of you cry when you chop the onion.
I do a lot, and that's my excuse for not cooking much.
I spent last week. I spent like the whole week with the refugees. When I hear their stories, that make you really, really cry. This onion cry is temporary, but that cry will stick on you. Their stories stick on you. So we're doing something good for them.
So one thing I've never actually asked my dad is where he started cooking, because I don't think he was cooking in Afghanistan.
No.
So I don't wonder where the cooking started.
The cooking?
Yeah.
Well, when you work in a restaurant, so you have to learn how to cook. You know? I start from the basic. I start washing dishes, and I was interested to go and cooking, make dishes.
I love that he learns to cook while owning a restaurant rather than learning other people
owning a restaurant.
Yeah. No. Before I owned the restaurant, I worked in a restaurant.
Ah, okay. Was that 66th Street or was that a different one?
It was in 64th Street. The name of the place was what was the name of it? Butterfly.
Say it again.
66th Street and Lexington.
Yeah.
Butterflies.
Butterflies? I didn't know it.
It's a restaurant. It was coffee shop. Yeah.
Ah,
And the restaurant we opened on 66th Street and 3rd Avenue. I don't know if you heard Sign of the Dove. You heard of that restaurant?
yeah,
In Manhattan, Sign of the Dove?
yeah.
They were in this block. We are at the other end of the block, in the same block.
Uh-huh.
So that was a very popular at that time, the Sign of the Dove.
Yeah.
So what do you wait to see on your onions? How do you know when your onions are done?
Well, you have to change the color. You have to get in this color. Everybody is doing the same thing, I hope.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't smell any of your onion.
So I want to make sure that I'm with everyone because I didn't, anyway, doesn't matter what. But a half a cup of oil and sauteing the onions. Do I add the garlic at the same time?
No, wait the garlic a little bit later. Almost when the onion is about to be ready, then we put the garlic, because still we have to cook the pumpkin with the onion and garlic. So yeah, butternut squash.
And this recipe is exactly a classic Afghan soup, right?
No.
This
This
your
is
own.
a pumpkin. I just add some stuff that Afghan likes to onion soup.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why. And like
So it's a butternut squash soup with a Afghan twist.
Afghan twist, yeah.
Because we were looking at the menu that you had, the lineup the other weeks, and the soups were taken.
Oh. Well, that's good. We're going to have another Aush, Aush with meat in 2 weeks. I'm not sure still yet what next week is, but you know what? It's great that we got to cover the traditional ones, and now we're getting another take on a soup that
a little bit of a fusion.
Yeah.
And the Osh, he's also, I mean, he makes all kinds of soups, and Osh is one of his specialties too. So every fall season, the kids start asking him, like, when are you going to start making it? Right?
Can I ask him then, because I didn't have mint, and so I made mine with basil, and I thought, oh my God, I'm probably like offending every Afghan in the world. Have you ever seen anyone kind of change it up that way? Because Omar, who was teaching us how to cook that particular ash, was saying that the mint and the yogurt really make this recipe. But I had lots of fresh basil, so I decided to try it. Tasted good.
Yeah, they're green, but it doesn't taste the same.
Not at all. It was totally not ash, right? It was just a soup. Okay, got it.
I do love basil though. We were growing it all summer.
Yeah.
I can see I would be the person too to add it in. I would have done the same thing.
All right.
But I would say one of the classic mixes in Afghan food is a lot of the dishes have that combination of yogurt and mint. So especially like dried mint, they'll take dried mint and then, you know, crush it up and then sprinkle it on top of a yogurt.
That's what he did. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Our onions are sizzling. Can you hear?
Yes, they are.
So my question is about the cilantro and whether it freezes well.
Yeah, yeah,
It does?
yeah.
It's
it
good
does.
frozen? Okay, great.
But you cannot put it back in the salad, but you can put it for cooking.
Okay, good.
Because we use cilantro on the salad too.
Just fresh, chopped up fresh.
Yeah,
Chopped
chopped
up
up
fresh,
fresh. Yeah, cilantro is one of our big staples. It goes into almost everything. So in those first days, did you miss the food from home when you were in New York?
Yeah, especially the rice. The reason why I say rice, because back then there was no basmati rice in New York. You couldn't find it.
Yeah.
It was all Uncle Ben. The
Uncle
rice,
Ben's.
Uncle Ben.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that rice, you can't go wrong with it. Anybody can cook that.
Yeah. Yeah.
What year did we get decent rice selections here? How long has that been? I can't remember.
I think it was 80s, beginning of 80s, yeah. Because back then a lot of refugees come living there.
And then it would have been more in like the really concentrated areas where you know, immigrants were landing, like Queens, really.
Yeah.
Or in those kinds of areas.
So my onion is a little bit brown. So that's the time I'm going to put my garlic. So I don't want to roast my onion, garlic, so this is the time to put the pumpkin. What do you call it? Butternut squash.
So we use the same word for butternut squash and pumpkin in Daddy, so he keeps calling it pumpkin. If your grandkids were here, they would yell at you.
We go by the family name.
Someone's asking at what temperature should we be cooking?
Right now, it's high, almost high temperature. Yeah.
Got it almost on high, a little bit less than high.
When we cut the cilantro, do we do the just the leaves, or do you do the stem also?
As long you chop, no, because you're gonna blend it, so you can chop the whole thing.
So here's his cilantro. He's got it all chopped up. There are some, stems in there, but once they get all blended, then they just release flavor.
Okay.
So Nadia, on a previous call when we did lentil soup, I think it was with Bistro Arcosia, right? Deb, it was lentil soup, but we were using mung beans, and I understand that's the same kind of thing where it's called.
Oh, there goes the salt. You're saying the mung beans are the same
As lentils, yes or no?
So we have different kinds. There's the lentils that are like dal, the split yellow lentils. So we make dal, which is, in the South Asian, like the subcontinent. All of the countries make dal in very similar ways. And then the mung beans they're different. So we do a couple things with mung beans.
No, change the temperature to medium.
All right, he changed his temperature to medium. But one of the dishes, it's one of my favorites, is the mung beans with rice. And so we make a brown rice with mung beans in there. And it's just, I guess it's the protein of the mung beans. It just, for me, it gives it a more like savory and filling. Mm-hmm. One of my favorite dishes.
I went to some cilantro. What do we have in here now? Is it just the onion and garlic?
Oh, the ingredients that are in so far?
Yeah.
So we've got in so far, we started with the onions, and then when the onions were browned, he added the garlic.
Yep.
And then he added the butternut squash. And then went the salt. And that's where we're at right now.
Super, thank you.
Sure.
What are the spices in that mung bean and brown rice dish? Maybe we're gonna have to make that one day too.
It's really good. I mean, most of our rice is flavored with cumin and then a couple of other, like the brown rices. I think we use like a kind of sometimes a pre-packaged mix, but a little bit of like cloves in there too.
Mm.
So it's definitely a more hearty feeling.
Let's do it.
Yeah, I will look for a recipe for you.
Yeah, let's do it.
We usually don't go by recipes. Like home style cooking is not by recipes. It's just by like toss it in.
We're getting used to it, but it was driving some of us crazy for a while.
Yeah.
But we're getting better.
I can't follow a recipe to save my life. It frustrates me because I feel like someone's telling me exactly what to do and I don't like it.
Are your carrots going in with the butternut squash?
All together.
Oh yes, they all went in together. Thanks for asking that. I hadn't even noticed.
Well, they're in there now.
It's important to stir it, otherwise it will burn the bottom.
So he keeps stirring it so that the bottom doesn't burn.
There's no liquid though, right?
Not yet.
Okay.
No. I'm trying to coat the pumpkin, the butternut squash with the onion and fry it together so
How much salt are you starting with?
I put the salt already. Yeah.
How much?
Yeah,
salt?
how much?
Oh, it was 2 tablespoons. Two. What do you call it?
Teaspoons?
Teaspoons. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Now I'm gonna put the curry powder.
So there goes in the curry powder.
Just 1 tablespoon, right?
Yeah. Mhm.
But the cilantro didn't go in yet, right?
Right now.
Sorry, did you ask about the cilantro? Did it not go in yet?
Not yet. Yeah.
No.
Can I also ask about the carrots? Did I miss it? Was there any carrots in this recipe or did they get added?
Mhm. They went in with the butternut squash.
Oh, I missed it. Thanks.
Okay. There's still time. It's okay.
My pot is very full, so I might have to omit them. We'll see.
Okay.
And also, because Afghan likes carrot, they use it a lot of things. Otherwise, you can use sweet potato too. Instead of carrot, you can put sweet potato. That has the same, almost the same texture also. Another thing, what do you call it? Thanksgiving is coming. So after the Thanksgiving, if you have a leftover of sweet potatoes, you can change it to a soup. So I put my base, the vegetable base.
Okay, so he's adding the vegetable base now.
Can you kind of share what that vegetable base is? I'm not familiar with that. Like what it is.
Vegetable base come in a powder or come in a cubes.
So it's like the bouillon cubes, but it's a vegetable.
Yep, okay.
Fried stock, I guess, yeah. It's a good thing I'm not leading this because I would have added water already.
Now we can put our cilantro.
And so that for the question in the chat, he did not actually add any liquid yet.
That is so interesting because all of our instincts are to water down the bouillon or whatever, the liquid. So can he talk for a minute about why he has learned to cook with all that? I mean, he keeps alluding to making the vegetables more tastier before he adds the water. Is that it? It's just to really strengthen the flavor inside those veggies?
Exactly, because this way, when you cook it like this, the flavor come out. Once you if you put it in the water, it look like it comes kind of washing it. But you're gonna put the water anyway.
Yeah.
So this way,
It's just more concentrated.
I think so, yeah. And I always taste it like this. Tastes good, so why change it?
Good point.
So someone's saying that she's using vegetable broth instead of the
yeah, you can do that. Yeah.
instead of the base. So how much liquid should she add?
Maybe.
So he's about to add liquid now.
Maybe about a quart, right? A quart and a half or something.
Yeah, so he's thinking probably about a quart if you're using a liquid vegetable stock. And yes, the curry went in right before the veggie base.
Did the cilantro go in yet?
Yeah.
Yes, the cilantro just went in.
Okay.
I didn't put the whole thing because I need some of them for at the end.
To garnish?
Yeah.
Okay. So
Otherwise, my wife will get mad.
Don't let that happen.
Now we can put a spoon of white pepper too.
I'm sorry, what did he say, white pepper?
yeah, he's adding, what is that, a tablespoon or?
Tablespoon.
So 1 tablespoon of white pepper. I feel like I've never cooked with white pepper in my life. I've never touched it.
The black pepper, it shows on the soup.
So he's using white pepper to avoid the black flecks of the black pepper.
Now I can see that I need more water. So let them boil. In the meantime, I'm going to boil some more water.
I'm gonna just hover over it so you can see. So it's not underwater, but it's got enough liquid in there.
Just 1 quart of water?
Yeah.
He put in about a quart, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
But I can. I see that I need more water, so I can put more water.
Okay.
Yes. He's got water boiling in a kettle on the side, and once it boils, then he's adding that in.
My goodness, the minute you add that curry, your whole kitchen smells so delicious.
Mm-hmm. That it is.
You smell it?
I have a question. So about the tablespoon of vegetable soup base, are you talking about, like, I am using a cube and I made it into a soup? I'm just supposed to put a tablespoon of that in?
Yeah, because it's just for flavor. So it's getting. We don't want to take over, the salt or the thing, but
she would use a whole cube.
Yeah, whole cube at least.
Yeah, like a whole cube.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm putting the whole cube in with water.
Yeah, just dump it in.
And then you said we should add how much water?
I put a quart and half before, but I see that I still need more water because it's going to boil and some of them evaporate, and I need more water. So I'm
you
boiling
want enough liquid so that
to
all of
cover,
your.
yeah.
He wants enough liquid in there so that all of your the vegetables are submerged.
Because we have to make a full pot of soup, so
yeah.
we have to.
And then some of the what he said earlier, some of the water will evaporate off as it cooks, so he wants a little bit extra in there. Somebody asked about cilantro. If they don't have cilantro now, how can they add it after?
You can use mine. Cilantro after.
I mean, you can definitely garnish with it.
Yeah, you can garnish it with it,
Yeah, and that should give enough of the flavor.
Can I add that they certainly should not replace the cilantro with basil?
All will be forgiven, don't worry.
These are all extra taste. I mean, it's not going to change a lot, but at the end, if you chop it really fine and add it, it's still good.
I do actually just really like, especially the little bit of fresh cilantro at the end, because it just gives you a little burst when you add it in.
Can I ask a question? I had kind of gigantic butternut squash, and so I did prep all 3 of them, but is that going to be fine?
I think she said she had a really big butternut squash, so she didn't do all 3 of them. I think your quantities, it's very, you make whatever you make.
You live and learn. The next one will be a lot better when you make it.
But I guess your the important part is probably obviously the salt, and then the liquid
Yeah.
ratio.
Do we add the curry powder now also?
Yeah, the curry powder went in at around the time that a couple steps ago. So you can add it now. Yeah.
Before the water.
Yeah.
Just before the water.
So while you had the deli and you were cooking soups at the deli, were you also cooking at home for your family, or did the family eat the deli food, or how did things work at home?
We ate a lot of deli food.
We ate a lot of deli food and a lot of sandwiches they took to the school. And also a lot of, because of them, a lot of students, their classmates, they come in the deli to buy sandwiches.
Ah, so they were advertising at school for you.
Yeah.
Smart. All right.
And when the kids come and ask for sandwiches, I make them sandwiches in the morning
Yeah.
and wrap in a plastic, and I put a few gummy bears.
Aww.
The next time, those kids make sure the parents go to Larry's Deli.
So smart. I love that.
So now it's boiling. This is boiling, and
did the deli stay open under new owners after you left?
oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's open now.
He's very, very happy, and I'm in touch with them. And he stayed with us to learn everything for almost 3-4 months.
Ah.
And then he took over. Yeah.
And there were a lot of dishes at the deli that were definitely not Afghan, and a lot of that is carried over. So this past St. Patrick's Day, and he's adding more water now. So now
Can you show us how much now? Is it above? Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Let me hover again.
Ah, now we're looking soupy.
Yep.
Beautiful.
Yeah, this past St. Patrick's Day, he and my mom showed up in the morning at the house, dressed head to toe in green, and with groceries in tow, and they cooked a full Irish meal, fresh corned beef,
yeah.
and then all the side dishes.
So you learned as much as you were teaching all those years, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah. Oh, he can make a mean Virginia ham that he's never tasted.
Exactly. Yeah.
Do you have a couple of best memories that you want to share about your days interacting with people who had never tried Afghan food, who came to really love it?
Well, Afghan food, we tried some of the dishes for Afghan food takes a lot of time consuming.
Yeah.
And we had almost 10-15 people work at the store. So we tried to make the Afghan food, but all the people working there, they want to try it, they want to eat it, of course. Yeah. So by the time customer come,
none left.
So I said, we are not making money on this Afghan food. So some of the stuff, especially the rice, was a really hit, because the way we prepared the rice, it was basmati rice, and we cook it, and also saute some onion and peas and carrots, and put that on top of it. It looked like a vegetarian rice, and people used to buy it by pound. And, those Spanish people work in the store, I asked them a few times, why don't you make rice and beans here? So believe me, this rice tastes a lot better. In my home, he said, I don't cook rice for my family, but rice and beans, I cook basmati rice. Yeah. And they learned fast. They were cooking really good. I mean, they're making the rice.
Yeah. Nice.
A lot of cultural sharing, right? That happens in those places.
Yeah.
In this area, we've got a lot of Afghan restaurants.
Where?
In this area, especially Northern Virginia, because there are a lot of Afghans here.
You put it on medium. So
okay, so he's on a medium flame now.
It's very good.
So it was interesting because he was volunteering at this facility where they have some of these newly arrived Afghans, and he came back on the first day, and we asked him how'd it go, and you were talking to 4 people that day and managed to make connections with like 3 of them. Even with one of the guys, they knew somebody in common. So it's a really, really small world.
Yeah. He was, were you at one of the military bases? Is that where you went? Yeah. Huh. So we're collecting, just for people on the call, we're helping to collect winter coats for the people at the military bases. So if anybody has coats, go ahead on our website and take a look at some of the drop-off spots. You need to drop at one of a bunch of different locations throughout Montgomery County that we've listed, but before end of the day on Wednesday. That's the end of the collection. But any kind of good coats in good shape for any child, adult, there's thousands of people going to be needing coats on those military bases around here.
It's true. Yeah. And thank you so much for doing that. It's, I think one of the biggest concerns for the people on the bases, we've been so fortunate because everyone has been so, the goodwill of the community has been really amazing. So this outpouring of generosity and these donations has really made things a lot easier. One of the big barriers in the beginning was how to get these donations to the people who needed them, because we couldn't access, and there's all these protocols in place. So it's getting a bit easier. And then once folks are starting, and that's starting to happen now, just really, really early, where we're starting to see some people who are on these military bases now, which are called the safe havens, that they're starting to leave and go out into the community, and they'll be with resettlement agencies who are going to help them set up housing, try to figure out how do they connect with jobs and transportation, enroll their kids in school, and kind of get all those pieces to start to build that next step of life. So this is a really big time, and a lot of them are really getting obviously antsy because they've been on these bases for a good amount of time. But I have a friend who's in New Jersey who organized, she actually brought a DJ onto one of the military bases, and they just put some music on, had some food, and I saw a video of just people dancing, and then American soldiers jumping in and dancing with them. And it's just one of those moments where you're like, okay.
Yeah, no, that's wonderful. And I've been reading, there's somebody organizing Sunday fun days at the 3 bases around here. So if anybody's on the call that wants to participate in that, just get in touch with me. I'm Deb with KindWorks. And Nadia, I'm actually so happy that you were mentioning the resettlement process, because KindWorks does do a lot with that. We help with home setups, but we also have started a new program where people at home can cook the welcome meals. We'll give you a kit, which includes an Afghan menu with chicken lalang and that yummy cilantro, tomato, cucumber, red onion salad, and the rice that your dad was talking about, and an eggplant dish, and the delicious cardamom pudding that I think is turned out. For what's the name of that? For Bernie, yeah. And so it's absolutely delicious, and it's foolproof. We've been making it. I think probably 10 or 11 people at home have made these Afghan meals and delivered them to newly resettled people who've left now the military bases and have gotten their own home. So we put that in the refrigerator. So when they walk in, not only is the home all set up and groceries are there, but there's a welcome meal in lovely dishes. So anybody who's interested in making a welcome meal for a newly arriving family, get in touch with us. Anybody wants to buy groceries so that the family, what's that?
So this is a cookbook called Culinary Journey Through the Silk Road, A Taste of Afghanistan. And this is 2 of my cousins who put this together. So I wonder if is Finny in here? Oh yeah. So here's the milk pudding that you were talking about. Isn't
that beautiful? Oh.
Yeah. So it's got crumbled pistachios with a little bit of cardamom ground up. And yeah, my cousins are really good at this stuff. I just didn't get that gene.
They probably can't do like a doctor to kids the way you do. So
they do good stuff, but I showed the Fernie.
Their
picture.
Yeah,
And the chicken lime. Do you have chicken? Oh, nice. Where do they live now?
They're in Australia, so that's what happens. We've got family everywhere. So they initially were in India, and then from India they got immigrated to Australia.
Wow.
They are very successful in your life. This is not what they do, but they just put this together. One of them is a doctor degree on
PhD in like some kind of crazy chemistry. I don't know. I don't even know. I can't understand.
A family of overachievers you've raised, huh?
Yeah.
Wonderful. Everybody's doing great.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, and so that's what I think about how many people in my family have been refugees or are refugees or somewhere along the line.
Yeah.
But it's not a permanent label,
Right.
It's a transition.
People are asking questions about some of the things I've mentioned. Anybody who doesn't yet know us, please put your name and email address in the chat so we can stay in touch. And Marge is asking, are we simmering the soup now and should it be covered?
No, it should be covered.
Cover it now. Okay.
Got it covered. How long should it simmer?
I think maybe in 3-4 minutes it should be done, because you can feel the what do you call it, the butternut squash. It should be soft.
So he's kind of like pulling out a piece of the butternut squash, and it's falling apart a little bit, so you can see that it's the texture is changing, it's softening.
Mm-hmm.
Carrot. Yeah, the carrot is not done.
The carrots take a bit longer. What food from home did you miss the most?
Food? We can cook everything here.
No, but in the early days, right?
In the early days, yeah.
Because
like,
you can tell them your living arrangements in those early days.
Yeah, it was, I come from a big family, and when I come to New York, at that time, probably the whole country, maybe 100 Afghans, and the whole United States, I mean. So for us to find a place to live and find a job, everything was a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a few friends. They were in New York too. So the first day I tried to find my friend. I called him. Back then the phone calling was not that easy. Everything was not. It was terrible.
Mm.
But a lot better than Afghanistan, anyways. But anyway. So I went to that, I had the address. I went to the address and I saw that I then knocked the door and they opened, and I see that about 4 or 5 beds are on the floor. People are sleeping. And I said, wow. And I asked, where's my friend? He said, oh, he's in the next building in New York, in Manhattan. I think it was Riverside Drive. And but he went to, it was Sunday, so he went to beach, John's Beach or someplace. So we waited for him. So we all share the same room, maybe 6 of us, at the time. But it was temporary, that we.
Yeah.
Then we.
Did you learn English before you came over, or you learned it all at the beginning when you got here?
No, of course. I studied English, and our school was in English. Our subject was in English, but not. It was when you're in school. You just learn textbooks.
Yes.
I come here, conversation, and watching TV and talking with the people. You learn more. I'm still working on it.
And are you still in touch with those guys from that first room?
Oh yeah.
Yeah?
As a matter of fact, last week they were here. We went to Washington D.C. and we spent the whole week together. Yeah.
Oh, lovely.
Oh yeah.
That must have been a lot memory-filled week with them.
Yeah, we had a lot of
inside jokes.
inside.
Maybe it's just as well, huh?
Yeah.
So I don't want to do what I did last week with the basil. If I don't have white pepper, what do you recommend?
No, black pepper is fine too. I told Nadia before the reason why for black pepper because it shows on the soup.
Yeah.
The black
What
spot
about-
shows on the soup.
What about Aleppo pepper? Or is that not the same kind of pepper?
What kind?
Aleppo? Like from
Aleppo.
Syria? Yeah.
Like the smaller hot peppers.
Hot pepper, yeah.
Are they hot peppers? I should eat one before I even ask you. Okay, I apologize to everyone.
Again, I'm not the authority to ask when it comes to
Okay.
So everybody's butternut squash is soft by now or not?
We can see some thumbs up and some thumbs down. How's everybody's butternut squash?
So, I see the so-so.
So, huh?
Okay. I got one no. Okay.
It doesn't have to be like mushy, but as long as it's soft, as long as you can cut it with the touch it with this.
If it gives a little
Yeah.
bit, you push on it with that.
Like this.
So I'm wondering, your soup is much more yellow than mine. And I'm trying to figure out what that might be. How much, is it the curry and how much did you put in?
Yeah, I wonder if it's the curry powder.
One spoon.
1 tablespoon?
One table. Yeah.
All right.
I think it's done. Now when I blend it, see if it's just too thick, I can add more water on it. So I'm turning it off. I'm allowed?
You're the chef?
Mine is done.
And do you serve it like that, or do you then use a blender and make it creamy?
No, I'm going to use the blender.
Okay.
Maybe before you start it, I will turn the sound off for the blending.
Yeah. So. I take this. Don't want to overdo it, overflow it, but because it's very hot.
You can do another round now. And I guess if you still have carrots that need to go, that need some more time, then it's fine because your butternut squash will just end up softening more with them.
So while they're blending their soups, because mine still has a ways to go, I'll remind everybody that when you are done with your soup, enjoy yours tonight. And then if you could package up the extras that you make, and we've got labels on our website that look kind of like this, and they'll ask you, let's see if you can see my, there we go. They'll ask you to fill in, if you print out the labels that we have online, your first name, today's date, write on it KindSoups, and this is Afghan Butternut Squash. And if you make it without the sour cream, which Nadia and Saeed will tell us about at the end, then it'll be a vegan soup. If you're going to add the sour cream, then it'll be vegetarian. And then I just always put a little heart or something on mine. So try to use containers that have nice tight fitting, snapping plastic lids, and freeze them so that wherever you're delivering them, you can deliver them frozen. We've got a whole bunch of different locations on our website where you can share your soups. Some of them will indicate that they're going directly to Afghan families, and others will go to food assistance providers. And you're also, as Marcia had said at the beginning, encouraged and welcome to share them to people in your own lives that maybe are going through something and you want to give them a little bit of a nourishing hug by sharing some kind soup with them. And then the last thing we ask you to do is to report to us how you shared your soups. And there's a link that we call contact tracing on our website. And if you could just, report in, I gave 3 to my cousin and I gave 4 to Afghan families at, this drop-off address. That would be great. Helps us kind of quantify the impact that we're all having together. And I see that Cheryl's asking about a soup that we're making in a couple of weeks that has meat in it, which if you're going to be making that meat version, you're going to want to buy halal for the people, for the Afghans who are coming over and will be receiving them. So we will list on that day's soup recipe a couple of places in Montgomery County that have some good access to good halal meats. There's one up in Rockville, one further up in Gaithersburg, one over in Virginia. So we'll try to give you some of that information, but it's much more readily available. Costco has halal, I hear now.
Yeah,
So,
halal meat, yeah.
yeah, so it's easy to get now, but you have to, if you're going to be delivering to any of the locations that we will be sending food to the Afghans, and we ask you to please make sure to not only buy halal, but mark on your soup container that it's halal. It gives the people who receive it some comfort.
I will say I'm no religious scholar, but I went to Brandeis University, and the students who were Muslim who kept halal on campus would just eat in the kosher kitchens because it worked. It's the same rules.
Yeah, but don't write kosher on these soups because that may offend them. But I hear you.
Yeah, well, it just may confuse them. They may not know.
Yes, yeah, but you're right. I mean, it's kind of the same thing, except who's blessing it, right?
That's a nice big pot of soup.
That does look gorgeous.
Can you please show us the consistency?
Yeah, so he's gonna label it.
Thank you.
Wow, beautiful.
I don't want to waste anything, so I even take these from this pot too.
I would assume we can also use an immersion blender instead if we have one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, was it? What?
A handheld immersion blender, one of those hand wands.
Oh, yeah. Okay, like one of the mixing wands that you can do them.
Ah, here comes the beautiful finish.
And then I put the sour cream.
Okay, he's just added a generous dollop of sour cream.
Was that salt?
No, so he's just garnishing
the cilantro.
the camera.
Beautiful.
Sorry.
Let's see if you can get a good look.
That is gorgeous. And does the sour cream change the taste a lot?
It makes it tastier, yeah.
Yeah. So for the soups that we're going to package up and freeze to share, do you think we can do that without spring?
That's why I didn't write it in the recipe.
Okay. So
I write it on the side. Yeah, you don't have to. Yeah.
Okay. Serve it even without. Just put some sprinkled cilantro to freeze. All right. Well, we aren't going to keep you much longer because we're past the hour, but we loved having you cook with us and talk to us today and share a little bit about your history and culture.
Thank you very much. Another thing for our, what do you call it, for Italian friend, we the sour cream, that's what my wife does. She put the garlic on it, on the sour cream, and put a small scoop of that, a small spoon of that on this. That makes it more garlicky taste.
That's what Omar did with the yogurt last week. Yeah. He whipped the yogurt with garlic. So I think maybe it's not only Italian.
Yeah, no, no, we use a lot of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that yogurt, garlic, and
Yeah.
mint.
Nice for our Italian friend when we have that. That's what we do.
Nice.
Otherwise, it's fine.
Yeah. And I'm sure it's great even without the sour cream. So we did it. We did it in 1 hour. That worked.
Did it. You're amazing. I'm going to turn off the recording. And if anybody wants to unmute and say hello and goodbye to the Hashimis, please feel free. And thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I hope